Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Perfect Pricing with Easy, Accurate CMAs from RPR. Before we begin, we are proud to announce that Allison James Estates and Homes has recently partnered with the #1 lead generation, CRM, and automation system, KV Core. We are thrilled to provide this amazing product at a low cost to all of our agents. Signing up for the KV Core outside of Allison James would cost over $500 a month, but we are proud to provide this product at a deeply discounted rate. For more information about Allison James Estates and Homes, please contact us directly at joinus@ajicorporate.com. I would now like to introduce our speaker, Joe Teeter, who will be hosting today's webinar. Please go ahead and submit those questions into the questions box on your GoToWebinar panel, or if you are joining us live on Facebook, feel free to go ahead and put your questions in the comment box below. With that being said, I would now like to pass it over. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Tori. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. I just made you the presenter, so you should be able to share your screen.
All right. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone, to Perfect Pricing with Easy, Accurate CMAs from RPR. My name is Joe Teeter, as Tori said, and I will be your instructor today. So let's go ahead and get started. So today you're going to learn where to find valuation and analytic tools in RPR. We're going to talk about the definition and the importance of AVMs and RVMs, and then we're going to show you how to refine those AVMs and RVMs. So we're going to go in and create a comparative analysis, and then we're also going to do a sales comparison analysis. So there's two different ways to do a CMA in RPR. And then we're going to talk about the reports and which one is the right one for the right situation. And then at the end, I'm also going to show you where you can learn more about our RPR tools and modules and really get a lot of good resources. All right, so an AVM. An AVM is an automated valuation model. This is an estimate of the property's market value. And in the background, they use a proprietary formula. And all of this is based on public records data. So when you're looking at an AVM, they're just looking at public records data, and then they take that formula and they estimate the market value. But it does not predict the price. It just estimates that market value. Now, there's three types of AVMs. The first one here is hedonic, and this uses property characteristics to generate the price. So it uses things like your square footage, your room count, and then it uses other methodologies to process that information. And all of this is often based on a statistical regression. Now, there's also the indexed type of AVM. This uses geographic repeat sales data over time rather than the property characteristic data. Okay, and then the third type is the blended AVM. And so it combines both the sales trends and the specific property details, and it uses all these statistics to show the accuracy of the predictions for both hedonic and index models over time. And it gives each one a value, a weight. It weights each one of those values according to that provider's formula that's built into the background. Now, there are limitations of the AVMs. The AVMs assume that the structure actually exists. Now, it does not take into consideration that it might have been destroyed by a natural disaster, whether it's flood, hurricane, tornadoes, or whatever the case may be, fire. But it assumes that it's in average condition. And it does not account for any upgrades or the value upgrades that the homeowner might have put into that property. The consumer AVMs are often advertised based as well, which means that they're using click-through ads and they're selling leads, to you guys, the real estate professionals. So those are just kind of some of the limitations of the AVM. Now we have the RVM, which is the Realtors valuation model. And let me give you a little background into the RPR. In 2012, RPR became a dues-funded benefit for all realtors. The RVM, or the Realtors Valuation Model, was developed specifically for use by realtors to really identify, visualize, and convey accurate, up-to-date market information as well as trends. Now, the RVM overcomes critical data issues of the AVMs. One of those is timeliness and availability. So RPR uses real-time MLS data. So we stream all of the data from your MLS into RPR. So it's real-time data that we're getting in RPR. The other one is accuracy. So using RPR's tool sets, you can refine your RVM value to reflect the property's actual condition, and then you're allowed to select those comparables that will produce a valid comparison. Now, this is not publicly available. It's only available to realtor members of the National Association of Realtors. Those are the only ones that have access to this RPR application. Now, you're also going to see confidence scores in here. And when you have a property that has a 5-star confidence score, that means that that property's sales price could be anywhere within that 10% of that property's estimated value 90% of the time. And then 4 stars goes down to 15%, 20 for 3, 25 for 2, and 30% for a 1-star. So that's kind of how you can look at it when you're looking at your properties and that confidence score. Now, there are 4 tools that we use for refining those valuation estimates. Those 4 tools are the public records, errors and omissions. So lots of times public records are not always accurate. They do make mistakes. And so you can go in and make those corrections to your property. Based on the home improvement that the homeowner has told you about, you can go in and refine the value based on those improvements. Needed improvements. You know, lots of times the homeowners want to put it on the market for full price, but yet they don't want to do some of the things that they need to make it even available for the market. And then based on your market expertise, you got the home and market conditions that you can go in and refine the value based on those as well. All right, so let's go ahead and let's see how this all works. All right, so I've got a phone call. I'm going to go ahead and put in the address that they gave me, and we're going to go ahead and do a CMA for them. All right, so we're at 4495 Salisbury Drive, and I'm going to come over here and click search, and I'm under the all properties search. All right, so it pulls up and it shows that it is an off-market property. It shows to the right here the sold date and the last time it was sold, the date, and this is all coming from public records. Right below that is the RVM. So if you hover over that little information bubble, it's going to give you a definition of what an RVM is. So in the beginning, where you're getting used to this terminology, it's always best to go in and read this to make sure you truly understand our RVMs. It shows the last time that this value was updated, and then down here you have View Details. When you click on the View Details tab, again, it's going to show you the RVM, gives you the range, the confidence score. It shows on the map where the property is located and all the properties that were used to generate that number. So you got the little thumbnail about your property, and then here's all the properties that were used to generate that. Now you can't click on anything. This is just in a PDF format, but you can see the pictures, a little thumbnail about it. Scrolling on down here, you also have an off-market property. So the properties go from recently sold to off-market status after 9 months. So it'll remain in the green banner for 9 months. And then after that, on the 10th month, it'll switch over to the off-market. Now in the upper right-hand corner here, you can now print this page. So if you want to print this off and take it with you to your listing appointment or have it in your file, you can now print this page and it will show you all of the properties that were used. I'm going to go ahead and hit the X in the upper right-hand corner. Here's all the basic facts about the property, and then to the right you have the range. So in this particular case, when I'm looking at the range, if this property has never been updated, maybe has a fire or had a flood or whatever the case may be, maybe not well maintained, then that property value may be closer to 744. On the other hand, if this property has been well maintained, highly updated, really in good shape, then that property value may be closer to 874. So that's kind of how that range works there. Here's the confidence score, and then again, hover over that little information bubble. It's going to give you a definition, and then there's a little short video here as well. It shows the change over the last month, whether it's gone up and down. In this case, it's gone down 16,000. And here's the RVM change over the last 12 months. It's gone up 3.5%, a little over 3%. Last sold price, and then the date that it was sold. You've got the pictures of the property here, and you've got the overhead view. There's a place for notes. And typically when I'm getting information from, oh, you know what? Okay. Okay. Anyway, all right, we're using the wrong, let me, it's showing Iron Gate up here at the top. Let me go ahead and just log out here, and let's put in the Allison James. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened here. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and do this again. I'm sorry about that. There we go. Now we got the right one. Okay. So let me go ahead and go down here. So again, here's the property. So the homeowner has told me that what they have done to the property. So I typically come in here to the little notes underneath. I've got up to 1,000 characters that I can do this with. And let's say, for instance, they have updated the guest bath in June of 2016 and spent let's say $10,000 doing that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and put in a, there we go. All right. So again, this is just a place for me to put my notes. Now I always make sure up here at the top that I uncheck this box because I don't want these notes included in any of the reports that I'm going to be sending out to them. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that box. All right. And again, as they keep telling me, let's say they just painted the kids' beds. Okay. And again, you can add whatever you want. All right. Then you've got your notes. You can always upload photos here. So let's say, for instance, you don't like this photo here. You can either drive by and take it with your phone, or if you put it on the computer here, you can always come in here and choose. Obviously, this is not the right one, but I'm going to go ahead and just use that to show you how this works here. And then click Open, and it's going to automatically load it into your account. Now, no one else is going to see this. It's just in your account, but you can upload your own photo now instead of maybe the one that Google did as a drive-by. Sometimes they don't always get it right. The side of the house, the back of the house, or you've got a tree that's covering the entire house, or you've got people standing there doing something in the front yard. So again, you can add your own photo in there. You can click on the edit then, and then you could click use for report covers here and so on. All right, and then or delete, and then just hit save. You can do this at the end or at the beginning. So after you do the CMA, you can always come back in here and put in your prices here. So if you know that the price range is going to be maybe 800,000, and maybe the high will be maybe 850, and then you can put in what their loan amount is, and then put in your commissions, your home warranty work. You know, if there's going to be $1,000 worth of home warranty done. You know, it's just up to you on what you're going to put in here. And you can see down here that it's going to start calculating the net cash to seller. You can save and print this and then take it with you to your listing appointment, or you can just hit save and close, and then that will be included in the report if you so choose. So you've got your homeowner's facts. Make sure you're talking to the right person. You've got all the home facts here. If there's something that is not correct, you can go ahead and make those changes right here if you'd like, just by typing in your changes. You can also add a new row too. And you can see you've got some already in here, but if there's something that's not in here, you can come up here and type it in. So let's say they did a brick driveway, for instance, all right? And just hit add. So you can start building your own list of features that are in your particular area of the country. And let's say they did the brick driveway, maybe they did it 800 square feet, June 2017. So again, put in whatever information that you have available, and that can be in there. And then just hit save, and it will stay. You can always come back in and edit your custom facts. You can see that I've added that brick driveway, and if I want to delete it, I can delete it here, or I can delete it right here as well. You got your median estimated home value. Again, you can uncheck what you don't want and then just hover over and get the data. So you want to learn as much about the property, before. If you're not familiar with this particular area, but again, you got the legal description. Here's a plat map that you can download. You got the tax information. You've got the deed records. So again, here's show more. And then going back up, you find out more about the neighborhood. Just by clicking on the about, it's going to give you a definition of source and how often it's updated. And then here's the historical records. And this one's been in a couple times. And I really like to spend a little time here when I'm getting ready to do a CMA. I click on the compare historical, and it's going to compare side by side listing back in 2013 versus 2002. And I can see what has happened from one listing to the next. So what the homeowners have done with the property over time. You can see what the listing agent put in for remarks. You can see the price change history. You can see all the home facts, all the listing details, room details. You've got the interior features and details. And I tend to spend a little time going back and forth and seeing what has changed or what hasn't changed, all the way down to homeowners association as well as legal description. Now, if it's been in more than that, you just come up here to the top, click the down arrow, and you can choose any of the others or even the public records. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the X out. All right, the other thing I take a look at while I'm on this particular tab is I go to the bigger map here. You can see where the property is located. You can see other properties that are listed or for lease in this area. Here's one that happens to been recently sold. So you can click on any one of those and go back and review kind of what's happening in that neighborhood. Here's one that's for sale across the street here. All right. And then the other thing I take a look at are the heat maps. So I come down here to the heat maps and I look at the 12-month change in estimated value. So it shows where my property is located and then all the values that are happening around the area. Here is this key down here. So anything that has a dark red, the property values are going down about 15%. The darkest blue, they're going up about 20%. And then everything in between. So right now we're kind of in that 2.5% area right here. But you can see this is where the values are going up almost 20%. Here's where they may be going down about 10 to 15% over here. And you can move the map around as well. All right, so that's one of them I take a look at. Another one is maybe the list price to sales price. Click on that and kind of see what's been happening in that particular area. Again, you have the chart below here. Another one, maybe flood zones is important in your particular area. So again, this one kind of is not that close, so we may not have to have flood insurance in this particular area, but it's sometimes nice to know that going in. So again, you've got several heat maps here that you can look at. I'm going to go ahead and select none and go to smaller map. The next one over is the history tab. The history is going to tell you a little bit more about what's happening with the property. So back here you can see when you hover over that they sold the house for $625, and you can see by that chain, the RVM or the AVM, the property values have been increasing over time. Another place for notes, here's your prior sales transactions. You can see what the sales price was, what the loan amount was, and then the loan type and so on, and click on the show more. It's just going to give you more information. This is a great place sometimes also when you click on the listing records and click on the show more, it's going to show you what the last list price was and then what the sales price was. So you can kind of tell how good of a negotiator they were when they bought the property, or maybe what was happening at that particular point in time when this one was on the market. So you can toggle back and forth between those two. You got your tax assessment, you got your mortgage records, and so on. All right, then the next one over is the charts. And I don't spend a lot of time in here, but this is a great place to really find out what's been happening in this neighborhood where this home is located. You can talk about the definition, the source, and how often it's updated. You can hover over and get the data, and you can change the data as well. So whatever you change it to is going to show up in the report. Most of these are updated on a monthly basis. The listing inventory is updated daily, and so is the inventory of distressed properties updated daily. All right, now we're getting into the meat of it. So here we are on the Refined Value tab. So you can refine it based on the basic facts. So again, if anything in the public records is not accurate, you can come in here and make those changes. So let's say they actually have 2475 square feet. And when you hit apply, you can see that just added 23,000 to this property value just by adding that extra 100 square feet. I'm going to go ahead and just hit restore and start from scratch. All right, so here's the home improvements. So the homeowner has told me that they have done some home improvements since they bought the house. And so I'm going to come in here and choose what they have done. So let's say they did a major kitchen remodel. It's going to give you a little definition of what it is. Just find one that's close, whether it's upscale or mid-range. And then you're going to put in when they completed it. Let's say they did this in March of 2015, and they spent $100,000 doing it. And then click Add. And Hanley Wood says it's now worth $63,000. So it's added $63,000 here. Hanley Wood is a leading aggregator of home improvement. They put out a remodeling magazine, and based on the region of the country that it's located in, the cost of materials and labor, it comes up with a value for you. They do have a website also that you can go to. All right, and then again, just keep adding in all the home improvements that they have done for this one. So let's say they also did a bathroom remodel. So click on bathroom remodel. Let's say they did this in February of 2014, and they spent $15,000 doing it. Click Add. And you can see now that they've gained another 9,600. So now my property value is up to 882,000. If there's something that they have done that's not on this list, just come down to the other here and click on other. You're going to type in the description. So let's say they added a pool and cool decking. All right. And they put it in April of 2015. And spent $50,000 doing it. Just pulling a number out. It may be more out there in California or wherever you're at. But let's say they spent $50,000. Now, most places, I know here in Arizona, pool isn't worth much after they put it in, maybe only worth $5,000. So when I put in other, and let's say I do put in $50,000 here, and when I click Add, because this was done back in 2015, it's being depreciated out over a 20-year time period. Well, a pool may not be worth $42,000 at that point. So be careful when you use a pool on the other. You may want to just not even put that in. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that for right now. So I wanted to show you how that worked. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that so you can continue to see this here. Now the needed improvements. So driving up to the house, I can tell that it needs some exterior work. So let's say this happens to be a house that needs to be painted. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in exterior paint. They've received a bid already. It's going to cost them $5,000 to do it. So right now I've got a cost of $882. When I click Add, it's going to subtract that $5,000 from that price. So let's say also they need to update the guest bath. All right. And it's going to cost them $10,000 to do that. So when I click Add, again, it's going to keep subtracting from that value. So it's kind of like a reality check for that homeowner. Most homeowners don't want to stick another dime in that property. So here's where you can really show them that if they don't put it in, that their house is only going to be worth this much. Now, what you could do also is if the homeowner decides that they do want to add these needed improvements, you know, and improve the house before they put it on the market, you can always remove them from here and put them up here as if they just did them this month and show what that value would be. So that's just an added benefit that you can give to your clients there. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and leave those in. And then the last one is based on the market and home conditions. So again, you're the expert and you know what's happening in your market. You know this area. So based on your market expertise, you're going to decide whether the market is slow, average, or hot, or somewhere in between. So let's say the market's fairly hot out in this area. So I'm going to go ahead and move that slider up. And you can see as soon as I did that this value did change. Now, if I slide my screen up a little bit, you can see down at the bottom that it just increased the value by 17,000. Now, if you don't think it's that much, then you can always drop it down. You can see how it changed from 17 down to 8. So again, it's your knowledge of the market that comes into play here. Maybe the exterior isn't quite as nice as maybe some of the comps that you're going to be using. Maybe they haven't maintained it quite as well. They spent all the time and money on the inside and kind of let the outside go. So again, your opinion based on, you know, how many notches down you want to go for that. Interior, maybe they've done a lot to this property and they've increased the value quite a bit. So again, based on your opinion. Lot size, how does the lot size compare to the comps that you're going to be using in the neighborhood? The view, as well as the privacy. Again, all based on your opinion only. All right, so now you see I've refined that value up to 883. Now, if you don't know any of this, you can just bypass the Refine Value tab and go straight to the Comp Analysis. Now, there's two different ways to do a CMA. We're going to go ahead and do both of these. But the first one is the CMA based on the comps that you have selected. There is a video here that you're welcome to watch, about 90 seconds long, that talks about the difference between the two, but I'm going to show you today. So there's 5 steps. So the first one is to confirm the facts. So again, anything that has an asterisk is a required field, and you have to have something in there. You can see how my brick driveway came over from the past. Again, if you want to delete that and not have that part of it, you can always go ahead and just hit that little trash can, and that will take it out of the equation here. I'm just going to come down to the bottom here and confirm the facts, or you could add another row if you want to. All right, and then hit the Find Comps. And now you can go ahead and add your own, add the address or an MLS listing ID, and then click Add. Any comps that you're going to be adding into your CMA are going to be over here in this panel. Anything that's not will not be part of your CMA. I'm going to go ahead and have the computer help me here. So it's going to default what Public Records has for the property type. The default for property status is active, pending, and sold, and then you can select any of these others that you'd like. So if you have under contract in your area and you want that to be in there, that can be part of it. You can also add in up to 6 keywords. So if you want to find other properties that have a pool, you can go ahead and click on Pool and click on Add. And then add that in, or you can just go ahead and clear. I'm just going to go ahead and take that out right now. But again, you could add up to 6 keywords there. You've got the months. So for your off-market properties, you can do anywhere from the last week to the last 18 months. We're just going to leave it on 6 here. But if you want something different than that, you can always do it by a date range as well and put in your date range here. The properties are going to be looked for are through beds, baths, and living square footage. That's where the comps are going to be coming from. And you've got about 20% on either side of your subject property here, which is basically what an appraiser is looking for. But you can narrow that search down if you'd like. So if I want to move this up to 1,800, I can do that. Or I can drop this down to 2,900, just to narrow that gap a little bit more. You could also put in an upper limit here if you like, or you can leave it open. You can also add in any of these other 4 as well. Now, before I hit search, I want to talk about the map here. The map is where all of your properties are going to be coming from. So if you have a property that's backed up to maybe the ocean or a mountain or a big grassy green belt area, or maybe even a lot of commercial area, you might want to move the map around so that you get the biggest location for your residential properties. And again, if you know that this is the area where your comps need to come from, again, move the map around to find those areas that best work. The other thing that you can do too is to either zoom out or zoom in. So again, you have the option of choosing, but whatever again is on this map is where those properties are going to be coming from. Now we'll talk about these up here in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And you can see now all of my properties have come into the screen. Now up here at the top, you do have the option to go ahead and do a box, a radius, or a polygon. So if you want to do a mile search out from your property, you could, draw that circle out, and then it's only going to show those properties that are within that mile. You can also do a custom area. So if you already have one, you can come back in and do a custom area. Or you can do it by geography, whether by neighborhood or by school district. So you have those options. All right. So down here, there's several different ways that you can select. So you can see I've got 32 properties that were found that can be used as comps. Up here on the map, you can go ahead and select your properties right from the map. So if this is one property that I definitely want to use because it's in the same area, I can go ahead and look at the little thumbnail about it. And then right here it says use this as a comp. So just click on that and it's going to move it down into my box. So that's one way that you can select, and then it turns it black. If there's another property, you can go ahead and just select it, use it as a comp. So that's just a great way that you can select. Now the other thing is, and you can see all those two properties are now in here. Up here at the top, these are all sorted by proximity. You can also sort by any one of these ways as well. So if I click on living square footage, for instance, you can see that it's being sorted from the most to the least. Or if you click on living area again, it's going to be sorting from the least to the most. So several different ways, depending on which way that arrow is going, could make a difference on which properties show at the top. Or you can just go back to the proximity and then it will resort it that way. Whenever you see the blue star, that just means that was one of the properties that was used to generate the RVM. So when I clicked on the view details under the summary tab, this was one of the properties, and this is another one that was used to generate that RVM. Now, if you come in here and decide that this is not a property that you want to use, you can always come in and uncheck it, and it will eliminate it from your list. All right, I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. But let's go ahead. You can click on any one of these blue links and go in and look at all the information about the property, scroll through the pictures, look at all the details, and see if that truly is a good property for your comp. You also can click on the details and go in and look at the details. There's just a few details here about each of those as well. But then just scroll down and start selecting the properties that you know are a good fit for this particular one. Again, you can see when it was closed, when that sold date was, and so on. If I scroll down even further here, there may be other properties down here that you want to use. Just click on it. And down here at the bottom, you'll have your for sale properties, your pending. You may even have some others that are off market, depending on how far out you went. So once you have your properties all selected, you can see them over here on the left-hand side. If there's one that you have selected that you definitely want to get rid of, you have that option of clicking on remove here. So if I scroll down here, I can see all the properties. If this is one that I want to get rid of, I can just go ahead and click remove. Are you sure? Click OK, and you can see now it's been removed from your list. You can see the comps and the range. I'm just going to click update valuation and close. You can see the average of your comps here. You can always go back in and reselect some different ones if you like, or you can come down here and click adjust comps. So you can see up here I've got 5 comps that have been selected for this property. You can see what the value of my property is at, and then the comps that I have selected. Now, if there's one in here that I have that I want to get rid of as well, what I can do is, let's say this one for $8.99. I decided that that one's not a good comp and I want to get rid of it. Right now I'm at $9.77 or $9.70 for my price. If I come up here and click remove, you can see it changed it just a little bit, but sometimes it could be a drastic change depending on which one that you delete from here. Now you can also put them in whatever order that you like. So if I find that maybe I want this one here on La Portalada to be right next to my subject property, I can come up here to the top and change that to the first position. And now when I go back, you can see that one has now been moved to the first position. But then maybe I want this one so that I can come up here and change that to the first position and put these two 1 and 2. So again, it's up to you on how you want to do that. You can also do it by distance here. So you can see here the distance from the subject property. All right, you can also choose which record that you want, which listing record. If one is more accurate than the other, you're welcome to do that. Also, if you have done a CMA on any one of these properties previously, that is also going to show up on this list now. That just came out a couple months ago, and it will say comparative analysis. And then you can click on that and go in, and it will use that price that you came up with. Now, you cannot do a range when you do that. It would have to be just the recommended price is what would show up here if you have done a CMA. All right, you can click on the bigger photos and scroll through and look at the photos here. Just keep in mind that whatever photo you leave it on is what's going to show up in that report. Here's a little historical listing details on each one, and sometimes tell you a little bit about what's happening in that neighborhood. Then how does this property compare to my subject property here? So let's say this one is the same, so I'm going to keep it there. Maybe this one isn't quite as nice because they haven't done as many updates here, so I'm going to go ahead and take that down a notch. Maybe this one is really bad, so I'm going to take that. Again, you can see how that adjusts my property considerably. So again, maybe I don't want to take it down quite that far. And then if you've got more, just click on the next step, and then you have this next one, and maybe this one's just a little bit nicer. So again, by moving it, you're going to see the difference on whether it adds or takes away the value from your subject property. So you can see where it is and then what it ends up to be at that point. All right, then it's going to give you a little map on where that subject property is in relationship to the comp. Then it gives you the side-by-side comparison of each one, and then the living square footage. So you have that side-by-side. If you've added any, those will be down here as well and be highlighted in that light blue. I typically put in notes here on why I moved that slider, either kept it the same, moved it to the left, or moved it to the right. I let the homeowner know why I did that, to let them know what they maybe have updated or not updated and how it compares to their home. All right, so you can see what the total of my adjustments are right here. I'm just going to click Update Valuation and close, and then the result. Now, I typically don't give my clients a number like that, so I'm going to come in here and click on Edit. I could go ahead and type in that, let's go ahead and list your property for $980, or if you would prefer to give them a value such as, let's say $950 to maybe $999. Again, I have that range, and then when I click Save, that's what's going to show up in the report. So now the last step of that report is to create it. So I'm going to click on Create a Report. It's going to default to the seller's report. So on the comparative analysis, the default is the seller's report. When I click on the more details, you can see that I've added a couple pages here. You can add up to 5 custom pages yourself. Your broker can also add in up to 5. To do that, you just come over here where it says Manage Custom Pages, and then add, so it has to be in a PDF format, no larger than 10 megabytes. And you can add those in. You can put them in whatever order that you want. And you can also choose to have it at the beginning, which is right after the cover page, or at the end, which would be at the end of the report. You can click on View Page to make sure you've uploaded the correct PDF. And then you can also delete if you want to delete those. So that's how you can manage those custom pages. All right, again, select the private pages that you want. You can hover over the little information bubble and it will show you what that page looks like. Uncheck any boxes that you don't want to include. Let's say I don't want to include the market activity report, so I'm going to just uncheck those boxes right there. Or I can do the recommended pricing strategy here. So again, select what you want or you don't want. I want to include the seller's proceeds. You can include the property photos, limit the market activity to either 4 or 8 properties, and that's this section right here. So if you choose 4 properties, for instance, then you can also select whether you want just the side-by-side, which would be a side-by-side comparison of each one of those properties. Or you can do an individual page of each of those 4 or 8, or you can do both of these pages if you check the both box. Now you can also include your notes. You can choose the seller's proceeds. You can suppress the estimated value for the subject property. If that's not accurate, for instance, the RVM or the AVM is not accurate, you don't want to maybe explain it or to show that to them, you can obviously suppress that information. Also for your comps, if you don't want to show the AVM or RVM. And you can also suppress the refined value for that subject property if you don't want to show them that information as well. And then the next step would be to personalize it. So I typically come in, check that box, and then I'm just going to put in Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I'm going to type in my message here, and then come down and choose the delivery method. You can email it out to your client and have a copy sent to you, or you can download it as a PDF and then just hit Run Report. It's going to tell you how long that it's going to take to run that report. I'm just going to hit the X here. All the reports are going to be over here in the left-hand column. They're there for 30 days and then they drop off. This is what the seller's report would look like. So again, here, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. This report is 79 pages long, so I did include the market activity, but it has your picture, all of your contact information in here. Here's your pages that you've added in, and then it goes into your report and shows all the home facts. Here's the extended home facts. Here's the market conditions here. Here's the home improvements that you've added in, all the needed improvements. Here's the historical photos if you included those in there. Goes into the property history then, the sales history. By the time the seller is done reading this report, they're going to know more about their property than they did probably when they bought it. Here's the sales and financing activity. Here's the market activity. So it shows what the estimated home value is in this area, the listing price. Here's the list price versus sales price. So you may have to sit down and kind of talk to them about some of these charts. So become familiar with them. And then if I scroll down even further here, then it gets into the comps map and then the comps that you have selected. And then it goes into an individual page about each of those 4 properties that you have selected. So they know what their what the comps were like that that you had chosen. And then it goes into all the recent market activity, breaks it down by the different categories, the comps that you've selected versus ones are for sale or lease, pending, sold, distressed, and expired. And then it goes into the market activity. Now I'm going to bypass this whole area and get down to the meat here, if I can. So I'm just going to go on down here. So it goes into all those individual pages here. Hopefully not making you guys nauseous here. Let me just go down to the rest of the report here. There we go. All right. Then it goes into, all right, the recommended pricing strategy. So it breaks it down by these different categories, the comps that you've selected, the market activity for sale, distressed, expired, pending, and sold. It has the sold price comparison. It goes into the details of your CMA and then your refined value here. Any notes or photos that you've installed will be in here. Your seller's proceeds will show up in here. And that's basically a seller's report. All right, so let's go back. Now my report is done. I'm just going to hit the X here and out. All right, let's go back to the property details here. So that's the seller's report doing the comparative analysis. Now the next one is the sales comparison analysis. So when you click on that, this screen's going to pop up. So if you are a licensed appraiser, realtor / realtor, you can put in your state license, choose your state, and click OK, and it will be more like what an appraiser would use. But if you're not, just go ahead and hit skip this step, and you can even not show again. I'm just going to hit skip this step here. Again, you got the same 5 steps. We're going to click on confirm facts. You got the same information here at the top, so anything that has an asterisk is a required field here, and you can put in your changes. Come down here, you've got more fields. So this is mainly used with very unique properties, custom homes, you know, maybe in an area where you just can't find enough comps that are really good and you have to go out quite a ways to really find similar properties. Then this is the type of CMA that you might want to use, especially if you know the market really well. This is a great place to do it. But again, you have all these other options down here that you can compare side by side, but you can also come down here and add a row. So again, if you want to add, you know, like a fireplace, maybe they have one unique stone front, you can add that in. All right. And then down at the bottom, you're just going to click confirm facts and close. The next step is to find comps. Now, because we just did this, and for time's sake, if I wanted to start completely over, I'm going to select no, and then I can go in and start completely from scratch and select the comps. For time's sake, though, I'm going to go ahead and choose yes, and it's going to copy over those 4 comps that we just used. All right. But again, if this was really unique, I would start from scratch. All right, so I've got my 4 comps in there that I have selected. Again, it's the same way as we did on the last one. But when I click on the adjust comps, this is where it starts looking a little different. So again, you can put them in whatever order that you'd like. You can choose which records you want to use for each property. So you put them in the order. You can look at the pictures. And then down here, you've got a little map that shows you where that property is located in relationship to the subject. You've got the sold date, historical listing details on each of those properties. Okay. And then if you know of the sales or finance concession, maybe the homeowner did, you can now put in those adjustments on each one of those. And then this is where you can really make a change. So you can see that my subject property has 3 bedrooms. This one's got 4. So let's say, for instance, in this particular neighborhood, that an extra bedroom is worth $50,000. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract, so I'm hitting the minus key, $50,000. Now I'm just pulling this number out of the air. You'll need to know what it is for your particular neighborhood that you're working in, and it's different all over the country. So do be aware of that. You may have to talk to your broker or someone who's been in the business a long time and maybe know these values, or also an appraiser. If you can get them to spill the beans, so to speak, that would be a great place also to get the information. All right, so I just took off $50,000 off of this property. Coming down here, you've got the bath. So mine's got 3. This one's only got 2. So I need to add. So let's say in this neighborhood that a bathroom is worth $10,000, an extra one. This one is the same way, so I'm going to add $10,000 to that one as well. Okay, and this one's already got the 3. And again, if you've got an extra one, make sure you don't forget to click on that next. All right, so this one's got an extra bedroom as well, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract $50,000 from that. This has got the same amount of bedrooms. So again, you can really refine this based on your knowledge of the market. So down here again, here's my property, 2375. This one is close, so I'm not going to make any adjustments there. This one's only got 1,800, and this one's got 1,800. So based on my math skills, I'm going to make this very simple. So let's say, for instance, there's 500 square feet difference, and it's $100 a square foot difference in this area. So I'm going to add $50,000 to this property to make it equivalent to my subject property, and do the same thing with this one. So I'm going to add $50,000 to this property to make it equivalent to my subject property. And you could do the same thing down here with lot size and anything else that you want to, where you see the difference on a side-by-side basis. And again, make sure that you come up here to the top and you do it for all of your properties. So don't forget that you do have to go back if you select more than just those 3 properties. All right, and this one's got even 200 less than that. So again, I'm going to add 20,000 to that property to make it equivalent to mine. All right, then scrolling down to the bottom here, here's where you added in the fireplace, and you can see that all of these have fireplaces. Maybe this one doesn't. So again, you can either add or subtract depending on what a fireplace is in your area. Down here at the bottom, you've got the adjustment. So it shows what the prices are on each one, and then the result of your weighted adjustment. Now they're each one weighted equally because I've picked 4 properties. But if you click on edit on any one of these, it doesn't make any difference which one. It's going to show you the status. So if you chose different statuses, it's going to show you what status you have, the address of that property, and then the equal weight. Now, based on the number of adjustments that you have made on each property, if you come up here to auto weight and click on that, it's going to automatically adjust it based on the number of additions or subtractions that you have made from those properties. So again, let me look at that again. So again, you can see that. Now, sometimes you want to make your own adjustments as well. So let's say I want to take this one up to 25%. I want to take this one down to 22%. I'm going to take this one down maybe to 23%. And then I'm going to take this one back up to 30%. So again, you have full control on how you will even want to weight the properties. So now when I click apply and close, you can see what the result of your adjustments are. You're going to click update valuation and close. And then here's the results. So again, I'm going to come in, and you could either put in the 830, 450 as the property value, or you can go ahead and put in a range. So let's say, for instance, maybe we want to list it anywhere from 800 to maybe 850 on this particular one, and then hit save. Now, it's quite a discrepancy from what I just did on the last one, but just kind of gives you an idea on how you can use both of these CMAs. So again, when you click on the Report tab, it's going to default to the Valuation Workbook. So the Valuation Workbook report is the only one that can be used with the sales comparison. And again, click on the More Details. And again, it's going to show you all of those in. And if you've added your custom pages, those are automatically going to be in. And again, you can click, unclick whatever you don't want. You can hover over and see what is in there. And then choose what you don't want. You can enter a case number if you are an appraiser. You can choose the property photos. Maybe I just want the main photo or 2 pages. It's up to you. You can restrict the report area to either 0.8 miles. I think is the default. I have chosen a mile out. You can also select the number of listings per section, whether it be 10, 20, or 50, and I've just selected 10. Again, you can suppress these 3 values here if you don't want them to see the RVM, AVM, or the refined value. Come down here, personalize your report. Again, I would check in Mr. and Mrs. Seller, type in your message here, and then choose your delivery method and run the report. Now, this is what the Valuation Workbook would look like. Again, the cover page is going to have all of your contact information. You got your extra pages in there. And then it goes in and shows you the analysis update, your comps range, and then the estimated value of the RVM. Goes into the homeowner's facts. Here's all the home facts. Goes into the location details, shows where the property is located. Goes through the historical photos. Goes into the property history, the tax, the listing and sales. Here's the valuation, sales and financing activity. Here's the aerial map, the bird's eye map, the flood map. So if your people are very visual, this is a great report to do. Here is the plat map. And then it goes into the valuation again. I really like this chart, the current range of comparable homes. Shows where your property is and then how it is on the scale with your comps. And then you go and it goes into the 4 details here, the 4 properties that you've selected. And then it shows side by side from your subject property all your additions and subtractions that you have done on each one of those properties. And then down here, the net adjustment, the gross adjustment, and then your comp weighting down here at the bottom for all 4 of your properties. And then it goes into an individual page on each one and shows them the sold price, the adjusted, the net adjustment, and the gross adjustment, and then what was adjusted here. And then it shows them all the pictures that are available for each one of those properties. So they really get a good feel for how do they really compare to their home. And of course, they're going to always have their opinion. But here is, you know, the fruits of your labor here, so to speak. All right, so then you've got all those. Then after that, it goes into the local market conditions. And I really like this chart when I'm explaining this to my clients because it looks at the trend. So what's the trend over the last 7 to 12 months, the last 4 to 6, and the last 3? And it shows whether the prices are going down, up, or sideways. And this is really great, especially if you're going to do an open house in the area. This is a lot of good information for you. The comparable properties in the local market, property attributes. Here's including distressed properties. You can see the trend over the last 7 to 12 months broken down. And then without the distressed properties, goes into more trends there. And then goes into some of the charts here and shows what's been happening. Goes through all the charts. And then down at the bottom here, it goes into more of the heat maps. Shows them the heat maps there. Great way. And then all the active listings and so on. So it really goes into a lot more detail. It's really a great report. This one is also about 47 pages long, depending on what you've included in there. All right, so that is typically how to do both of those CMAs. So if I go back to my property details here, we just got done doing the sales comparison analysis, goes to a valuation workbook. The comparative analysis goes to the sales report. And then if I go back to my summary page, it's going to show you the RVM, your refined value, and the results of your comp analysis. All right, so in closing here, recap. We've shown you how to hopefully understand AVMs and the structure of an RVM a little bit better. We also showed you using the RVM and the AVM as a starting point for that property's value, using the public records, the home improvements, the deed improvements, as well as the home and market conditions, how to create a comparative analysis, as well as the sales comparison analysis, and then how to share that information with the reports. If you haven't already done so, you can also do a CMA on your phone, but you can access the information on all these properties just right from these devices very quickly. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do that. If you want to text 555-888 RVM to that number, you'll get a book back, an ebook that we have on a successful listing presentation that will talk about how to do a CMA. So again, 555-888, and then just text RVM to that number, and you'll get that report. Also want to mention our RPR Connect in Facebook. It's our great networking site. So search for us on RPR Connect on Facebook and sign up to join. A lot of great networking is being done, a lot of tips, tricks, questions are being answered. A great way to really learn about RPR. And then last, again, go to our blog. You'll learn everything about our blog, and all of our support is down at the bottom of every page. Let me just go back to the blog, and I want to point out a couple things here. When you're at the blog, again, you can reach this area at the bottom of every page on the desktop. But if you hover over the training, this is where all of our previously recorded workshops are. Here's our ebooks, our quick start guides are here, online webinars that you can sign up for, and our video tutorials. I know that's a lot of information in a very short period of time. Any questions that I need to go back over, Tori?
We do have a couple questions here. So Elizabeth is asking, she said, I ran a comp analysis and chose 9 comps, but when I ran the report, it not only had, oops, sorry, I lost the question. It not only had those comps, but a whole bunch more that she didn't choose. What did I do wrong?
So did she actually, now when you are selecting your comps, you want to make sure that you place a check mark in that particular one. So let me go ahead and let's go back to edit this area here. So when you're selecting your comps, let's go ahead and hit search here. So you've got to make sure that you select the comps. So you want to place a check mark in this box. If you don't place a check mark in any of these boxes, then it probably will use all of those. You want to make sure that the properties that you want to use are over in this panel right here. If you're still having problems with that, I would definitely call the help desk, and maybe there's a glitch or something, but you want to make sure that you have checked this box. If you don't check any of these boxes and there's nothing in here, then I think it has a tendency to use all of those properties. All right, so you just want to make sure you check the boxes, and only those properties in that panel will be used, hopefully. Okay?
Perfect. And I'm not sure if we have time for this, but someone is asking for you to quickly go over the rest of the reports and what they're used for. Can you do like a quick, maybe like 30-second overview?
I can do a quick one, yes. All right, so in the reports, there are a lot of agents across the country that will use a property report. There is a comps in here and adjustments and comp analysis. So sometimes people will do that. This one is also used for maybe relocating clients because it has a lot of neighborhood information and school information. So that's a good way to use that particular property or that report. The seller's report, again, is great for doing a CMA for a listing presentation. I know a lot of agents across the country use the seller's report and end up getting the listing because they're using our reports and going up against other agents that are not using it. Property flyer is a great way to use at open houses. You can use this to hand out to all the neighbors to invite them to your open house. Very simple to generate there. The mini property report, I typically use a mini property report after every showing when I'm working with buyers. It's just enough information that doesn't overwhelm them. It's only about 10, 11 pages long. So that's typically how I do that. Again, the valuation workbook is only for the sales comparison analysis, more like what an appraiser would use. I also use this when I'm meeting an appraiser at a house. If it's my listing and I'm meeting the appraiser at the house for any reason, I'm handing them my valuation workbook to them to show everything that the homeowner has done to the property, what they have put into it as far as all the upgrades. So It's a great way to get your property appraised correctly. Market activity, I always send out a market activity report to my homeowner if it's a listing every week, so they know what's happening in their neighborhood if the property is listed. I also send out market activity reports to people in my database, my sphere of influence, and keep them up to date in their neighborhood, what's happening over the last 3 months, 6 months, a year, depending on what they're wanting. So that's how I use that. It's also great for relocating buyers. Neighborhood report. If you got out-of-town buyers that are coming in, they want to know about neighborhoods, this is a great report to send them about your area, to get them familiar with a new area that they're maybe moving from across the country. School reports. You could, again, do a school report from anywhere in the country. This one happens to be on this particular listing. I can go ahead and generate an elementary or middle school or high school report and then send that off immediately to my clients. So that's kind of the tip of the iceberg there on each one of those reports.
All right. Is there any way to automate a neighborhood market report and or CMA once we've put them together once for a prospect who is thinking about selling, so that it gets generated and emailed monthly for them until they decide to sell and they don't have to do it manually every time?
No, unfortunately, you have to do that manually every time. But let me tell you, if you do a market activity report, let me just go ahead and generate one quickly. What I did, when I did a report, I would narrow it down to the neighborhood where my listing was located, obviously. But once this is generated, every week, every Friday, I wouldn't have to regenerate. All I have to do is come in here to this little orange plus sign and click on rerun this report, and it will update it with every new listing, new expired, new cancellation, new sold. Everything will be updated for that week. And then I would just send it out to them. So it's very easy to run that. Now, if I'm going to do this on a monthly basis, our reports do generate are only there for 30 days. So if I'm going to do it for my neighborhoods, for my sphere of influence, I would come in like on the 30th day before they expire at midnight and rerun that report. So every month I would just put it on my calendar to rerun it. And then when I'm ready to send it out every third month, I just send it out with a nice little note to my sellers or to my past clients to let them know what is happening in their neighborhood, that this is their report. So unfortunately right now there's no automation in here. Down the road it may happen, but right now we don't have that, sorry.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
But that's the closest thing I could get to, rerunning the report, is just by going there.
Perfect. There, you spoke about an ebook. Someone is asking for that. If you don't mind sending that over to me, Elizabeth, then I can send it to you. Joe, is that okay?
Absolutely. What an ebook. So right up here under the blog, if they go to training and click on ebooks right here, all of our ebooks up once they're loaded here. We just added 3 just recently this week on the charts, which really explains the charts really well. So do check that. Here's getting started with RPR. Here's the listing presentation, geographic farming, working with buyers, and then successful open house. So they're all right there, but I'll be happy to send you, Tori, if you want to send this out to everybody. I can send you this link if you'd like.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you don't mind sending that to me, and then I can.
No.
Elizabeth, if the person who asked the question, if you can go in there and find it, great. If not, I'll definitely be sending that out to you. Let's see. What is the text number? Is that?
Oh, the text.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back here. All right. Oops, there it is. All right. So for the listing presentation, if you just text 555-888, and then in the message, just type in RVM, and that will get you the ebook for the listing presentation.
Perfect. Does RPR have an app for your phone?
Yes, they do. If you go into the App Store for iPhone or Google Play for the Android, let's go back here. Oops, nope, don't have it. But if you go into the App Store, just look for RPR Mobile, and then download it. It'll say Realtors Property Resource at the top. It's usually the first one that pops up.
Okay, beautiful. And one last question, all we have time for. Is there a search page showing different activity in the different subdivisions, and who is the dominant agent in a subdivision?
When you're doing the research in RPR, you would come in here. Let me just quickly go into like neighborhoods. If you go into the within, and if I just go to Carlsbad here, for instance, it's going to show you all of the neighborhoods that are within the area and how they're named. And then what I like to do is, unfortunately, there's no easy way. You would just have to go through all the listings that occurred in that particular area. So let's see, Morning Ridge. Let me look at Morning Ridge in Carlsbad. So let me go back home here, and I'm going to type in Morning Ridge in Carlsbad, California. And I'm looking at all properties here, and then just do a search. And it's going to show you all the properties that are in Morning Ridge in Carlsbad. Unfortunately, if you come up here to the top and do recently updated, it's going to bring all of the ones that were recently either on the market or just went off the market. But you are going to have to go through each one to figure out who the listing agent is. There's no easy way to zero those out and find out who's the dominant agent in each of those neighborhoods. Unfortunately, you will have to put a little work into it. All right.
All right. Perfect. Well, that looks like all our questions have been answered. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you so much, Joe, for taking your time out of your day to speak to not only Alice and James agents, but other agents as well. And we're always happy to have RPR. You guys always do such a great job, and it's always a pleasure having you host a webinar for us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been fun. I enjoy it.
Absolutely. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us. I just had a quick question. Is this webinar recorded? It is. If you can go ahead and send me your email, I will make sure a recorded version gets emailed to you. You can post it in that questions box. Otherwise, we will be sending out an email in about 24 hours with the link for more information. Thank you very much again, Joe, and everyone else. Have a great day.
Make it a great day. Bye. Bye.
Bye.